I saw some rumblings last night on Twitter, and it's just maybe some people stirring the pot. Like, there's no like strong reports from like Elliot Friedman or guys like that. But do you think there's any chance that if we see another effort like this, if they, over the next 5 games lose 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, is there any chance that Dubas considers firing Sheldon Keefe and bringing in Barry Trotz or somebody else who's out there? I personally don't think it's going to happen. I still believe in Sheldon Keefe, even though I do think he has flaws. And I've talked about this before where I think sometimes this team is a little bit too aggressive. And I played D. Like, that's my position. I love jumping into the play and getting points and scoring goals once in a while. Like, I enjoyed that as a defenseman, but I think sometimes this team is a little too aggressive, man. I don't know. And I know him and Dubas are super tight. They've climbed up the ranks together. It gets a great story. If they can somehow win a Stanley Cup together, like, it's just like a beautiful end to their story where they have climbed the ranks through all levels of hockey. Now they're in the NHL. But I don't know. That's why I don't think Dubas would fire him. But at some point, if this team needs another kick in the ass, like, is that the play that they go to, firing the coach?
Never say never, especially in a place like Toronto. We just touched on that. But to your point, it has to get bad enough for something like that to happen. This coach, since he started coaching the Leafs, has had one of the best records in the National Hockey League. I mean, talk about the playoff losses. It would have to get bad. Like, I think it wouldn't be like, oh, rough start. No, it would have to get bad for them to make a move. And for Dubas to pull the trigger or someone else to make that decision for him, it's complicated because of the connection, as you mentioned. So I don't know. Like, first of all, I don't see it getting bad enough that they would let Keefe go and move on. Like to the point where they're desperate. I guess like the season is on. Like, now we're like, oh my God, is this team going to miss the playoffs? Like, where they look like they're going to miss the playoffs and something has to happen. I don't think we're going to get there. / I hope we don't get there. And as far as coaches go, I always say that it goes into the team. Essentially, it's up to the team. When Babcock was fired, you could tell the players wanted him out of there. They didn't want to listen to him anymore. If Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, Riley, all the vets are okay with Keefe and like his like hockey IQ and what he brings, you can't fire him. Again, unless things get really bad. If it's like something on the fence, I don't see that happening. And I hate to we're having this discussion, Bruno, 4 games in. Like, God forbid, right? And the slow start last year, you thought they would have learned their lesson. Looking at, the end of the season, where they could have been in the standings, they could have avoided Tampa. No, just, yeah, I don't know. Or maybe, like, we can talk about other kicks in the ass, like a trade. If a trade it'll get to that point too. I remember last year when they did start 2-4-1, there were the trade rumors, like either Nylander or Marner gotta go. Like, there was, again, it's Toronto, so everyone's fired up after 7 games. But as far as Keefe getting let go, I don't want to see it. And I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think it'll get bad enough that a decision has to be made. And I think that's the only point where it'll happen. If it has to be made, what do you think?
I'll bring up a stat. Since Sheldon Keefe took over the Toronto Maple Leafs, he has coached 189 games with the Leafs. They have the 4th best record in the NHL since he took over on November 21st, 2019. The only 3 teams that have a better regular season record over the last 189, 190 plus games are the Colorado Avalanche, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Florida Panthers. That's it. The Leafs are 4th. So since Sheldon Keefe took over, the Leafs have the 4th best record in the NHL. That's pretty darn good. They're 118, 52, and 19 under Sheldon Keefe. Pretty damn impressive. So I know we've seen a lot of trash with this team in the playoffs, losing to inferior opponents in the regular season. But you look at that record, I don't know, man, it's hard to fire a coach who's been that good in the regular season. And then thinking back to last season, as you said, Lepore, the awful start they got off to, they were 2-4-1 and then found a way to finish with a franchise record 115 points. So you give it a little bit more time. I think if this lasts a month, 2 months, then you start to get a little bit concerned.
Yeah.
But we'll chalk this up to early season bullshit, and we'll hope that they can turn it around. I don't think we're going to see Keefe get fired. I don't think we're going to see one of the core four get traded. And again, you could laugh at us and say this is a total overreaction. And it kind of is an overreaction to a certain degree, but this is the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is the Toronto market. The fans are passionate and they expect better out of this hockey team, plain and simple.
I was saying last night, I mean, every team has gross efforts. Every team goes on losing streaks, but the Toronto Maple Leafs are my favorite team. So I'm going to be fucking pissed off about it. As for Keefe, and like, we'll just wrap it up with this. Do you think there's that extra nudge in terms of pressure to Dubas or extra pressure on Keefe to win because the guy available is Barry Trotz, or would it not matter?
I think Barry Trotz lingering out there, I think it matters, man, because wherever this guy has gone, he has won. And the thing about Barry Trotz, and it's not even about that he's a winning coach and no matter where he goes, he finds a way to fix the team's problems. It's that he's so good defensively.
Exactly.
And that's been the issue with this team over the last, call it decade plus.
Yeah.
Right.
It mirrors Washington very well in the way that, like, you know, they couldn't stop getting scored on. He comes in, they win the Stanley Cup.
Exactly. Right. Where Alex Ovechkin and Backstrom and John Carlson, they were racking up all these points, winning all these games, winning President's trophies, but they couldn't defend at a high level and they couldn't win in the playoffs until Barry Trotz came in. So it's like you said, Lepore, a lot of that mirrors the situation we're seeing right now with the Leafs. So we'll see how that plays out. And again, I don't think Keefe is going anywhere, but things could get very interesting if this lasts 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And I don't think it will.
Hopefully we don't have to talk about that point again.